Thank you very much for the introductions, Davide, and thank you for the organising committee as well for the invite to this conference, which was a wonderful conference. It's my first time, and I've been here the last 2 days, and I've been really impressed with all of the presentations and the enthusiasm that's been going on here. It's been great, so thank you very much for that. So this morning, as Davide said, very early morning, we're going to be looking at AI, of course, and this is AI in English language teaching, preparing for the future. So we're going to try and say something about what is a huge task, preparing for the future. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to look at a new British Council report. So we're going to look at the past, the present of AI, and then hopefully that can say something about the trends that are coming. And then we can look at the risks, the opportunities, and then see how we can kind of address those. So in this keynote, AI in ELT, preparing for the future. This report came out December last year. I'm going to take a risk and say, has anyone read this report? Okay, a smattering of people. That's good, that's good. And even if you have read the report, what we have today is a world exclusive for VietTESOL. Yeah, this is a world exclusive, well, almost the first time. It's actually the second time these results have been seen. They haven't been published yet. We've just had them in. So we're going to have a look at those. And then we're going to have a sneak peek at some of the report made some recommendations for some practical activities. And we're going to have a look at how those are going. I think the idea of the session is that we're going to be moving from theory and research through to more practical sort of consideration. So, about the report. Research questions, why did we do it? So we were looking at how is AI being used for English language teaching and learning in education systems globally. And that's over a long period of time, over 10 or 11 years, because as we saw with the presentations yesterday, AI is not a new thing. There is a history to AI. And the second question is, what are the opportunities, issues, and challenges it presents? So the report is in 3 parts. The format is a three-part structure. And first of all is a literature review, which is a systematic literature review of all of the research that has been conducted globally in the last 10 years on AI in ELT. And this was the first of its kind that was done because it's across all levels as well. It's school level, higher education, and also adult and informal as well. So this was the first time that a study like this had been done. And our lead researcher for the systematic review was Dr. Helen Crompton, who's in the top 2% of Stanford's University Research Associates. And Helen can't be with us today, but she's recorded this video to just give a quick introduction of herself.
Hello, my name is Dr. Helen Crompton. I'm a Professor of Instructional Technology at Old Dominion University, and I'm also the Executive Director of the Research Institute for Digital Innovation in Learning at ODU Global, Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. Across the years, I've conducted 18 deep dive systematic reviews looking at the research literature on specific education and technology topics. Since 2017, I've focused on artificial intelligence. What's been very interesting in those studies is we've found out of all educational fields, language learning came out as the most researched area. So I was thrilled to work with the British Council to look very specifically on artificial intelligence and English language teaching and learning, looking at the affordances, the benefits, as well as the challenges. Our research had many great, interesting findings. From many ways, AI is being used to support those language skills, as well as challenges, things to be considerate of, such as the way AI in some places is being used to standardize language. All our findings have been published in the British Journal of Education Technology It's an open access publication, so everyone can access it free. And I hope you're able to examine our findings soon.
Okay, so that's Helen Crompton, who is the lead researcher for the systematic review. And I think a couple of things to draw out from what she said there. If you noticed, she said that ELT is being impacted more than any other discipline by artificial intelligence. And that's, she actually is kind of more broadly in education than ELT. So she's been looking at other disciplines as well, like maths and science. And it's ELT that is currently the most researched and therefore probably the most impacted. And she also mentioned challenges and things like language and bias and things like that. So we're going to come to those later as well. But I think the impact on ELT is very important for us in this room. Dr. Hua was talking about AI literacy yesterday, and the importance for teachers. If this is going to happen to ELT, then the importance for AI literacy for teachers is really, really crucial. So we'll talk about that a bit more. So when we did the systematic review, we actually found that teachers, the voice of teachers was fairly underrepresented. They weren't included in a lot of research, so we decided to ask teachers what they were feeling about AI, how they felt about AI, but also how they were using it. And the survey was quite a large number, 118 countries, so we'd say it's quite representative of that moment back then when we did the survey. And then lastly, key witnesses. We had 19 in-depth interviews with stakeholders from around the world. I don't think Dr. Vu is here today, but Dr. Vu from the Ho Chi Minh City Foreign Languages Information Technology. Okay, yeah, that's the quicker way of saying it. Yeah, he was one of the key witnesses. So Vietnam was there as well. I think just a quick point before we go on to the findings of the report. I don't know if you've come across this, but there is a problem with AI and definitions. So with some of the talks yesterday, we saw the history of AI and how different systems were being used. There is a problem in terms of when people say AI, they can often be talking about a different system to someone else that's talking about AI. So there is a real need for definitions, and I think UNESCO now are working on this, because if we don't have the same definitions, we're not talking about the same thing. I think also there's probably a need for definitions for ELT as well, because there's specific use of AI in ELT. So yeah, AI can mean different things to different people, and with our research, as you'll find in the report, I'll give you the link later if you haven't read it, we've tried to use more nuanced definitions within the report to make sure that people know what the different systems are. So these are the world exclusive, almost world exclusive, VietTESOL updated findings, and 6 questions. And I'm going to ask for your help for some of these questions. So what is the trend in the number of AI studies across the years? I mean, you can guess, I guess. So you can see back in 2014, no studies. I mean, no studies that fit into the criteria of the systematic review. Then we go up to, you can see a steady increase. So what do you think? 2023, any guesses? Double? Any more? Any lower? Any higher? Double? Triple? 32. Okay, that's a strategic guess. Very good. I like that. Yeah. Okay, so the actual number was. Have you read the report? Right. Okay. So in fact, in 2023, there is many research papers as there were in the preceding 9 years. So that's to be expected. I think 2018 is an interesting time. That was the first time there was a course for AI for teachers that came out then. And then you can see the steady increase. And you can imagine what 2024 is going to be like. Okay, so where are the AI studies taking place geographically? So where is the research on AI? I'm talking about AI in ELT, this is very specific to ELT. So the person next to you, to your right or left, say hello to them, and then tell them what you think the answer is to this question. Really? Asia? Yeah? Yeah, well done. No, it's good. It's a good. So yes, Asia ahead in research. 68% of studies. Way ahead, in fact. Of course, there is a caveat. There is one country that is way ahead. You should be able to see. Yeah. Okay, just to show you the levels of China in AI and ELT research. So this was 2013 to 2022, and China had 14% of all the research. It's now 62%. So I think, that's quite a significant amount of research. We know that China is putting a lot of money into research at the moment, but particularly when you compare, because usually, anyone know the other AI superpower? Who's the other AI superpower apart from China? Okay, it's up there, US. So US, 8.6%, and actually 9.4%, so it hasn't changed that much. So you can see there just how kind of skewed it is in China's favour. And why is this important? It's important in terms of we need research that is geographically spread so that we're learning about every context of AI use. But I think it's interesting that because typically US-China research is more or less equal, but for this one it's much higher. Okay, what educational level are the learners in the studies? Who in this room, put your hand up if you're a primary teacher? 1. Wow. 2, 3, a few. Secondary? Again, a few. Higher education?
Higher education. University.
Mostly higher education. University? Okay. So far, most of the research is on AI and ELTs in higher education. There's several reasons why this might be. Quite often, online research starts with higher education because academics and researchers are in higher education, they have student populations, so that's why that often happens. There may have also been a situation where in some countries there were bans on the use of AI in primary and secondary, so that may be catching up as well now. So we can see though that there are some big gaps that need addressing in terms of the research that's being undertaken at the moment in AI. Okay, how is AI being used for educational affordances in ELT? So again, to the person next to you, just 1 or 2 words, what do you think AI is being used for in ELT? Now compare your answers with what the research is. Number 1, speaking. Number 2, writing. 3, reading. 4, pedagogy. 5, self-regulation. Did you have the same? Or similar? Can you notice anything that's missing from, yes, listening? So actually, up until 2023, there was no listening. But since 2023, there has been as well. There's been pedagogy and self-regulation and listening as well. So speaking, obviously, we can see, you know what speaking is. It's the kind of thing where you're interacting with a chatbot, for example, or a conversational partner. This is something that's potentially a huge bonus for ELT classrooms. Traditionally, students being able to practice English on their own is impossible. And if your teacher is not there, or you don't have friends that are possible, that are possible to converse with, there's not a fluent speaker to converse with. So this is a huge thing, as well with writing as well. So these are things that traditionally our learners have struggled with when they do tests. It's more easy to practice reading and stuff like that. So these are real kind of, transformational possibly in terms of the use of AI in ELT. Pedagogy is an interesting one. So pedagogy is things like, for example, when an AI tool adapts to your learning or personalised learning, this type of thing. But in fact, what we found with a lot of the research, 2014 to 2023, that the pedagogy that was used in AI was actually very sort of old-fashioned and not new at all. But hopefully this is starting to change a bit now. Then self-regulation is the kind of thing where students set goals, and kind of it's about motivation and this type of thing. And in the last year, this has become a much stronger research area for AI. And listening, yeah, it's only just appeared. So we can see here, yeah. Speaking, improving pronunciation, using automatic speech recognition analysis, conversational partner, writing, giving feedback using grammar checkers, writing proficiency using machine translation, reading, improving vocabulary via gaming, for example. The anxiety one is an interesting thing that came through many papers. So interacting with AI has been shown to lessen students' anxiety when speaking. And this has come through in a number of studies. I think what's interesting with this and other AI tools is when you remove the AI tool, does the anxiety come back when you're speaking to a real person? And the same thing about dependency on AI tools. Once you remove them, is the problem still there, or are the benefits still there? And listening as well. So what are the challenges of using AI in ELT? So in fact, challenges in the research are generally underreported, which is not that uncommon with publications. So when people publish something, they want to talk about the positives and the good things that happen. They don't want to talk about all the negatives. So in fact, challenges were quite infrequently reported. But when they were talking about technology breakdowns. So obviously all technology breaks down, but in particular for AI, it would be things like giving the wrong answer, limited capabilities. Users actually wanted more things from the AI. So this is connected to the hype around AI. There's a huge amount of hype around what AI can deliver. I mean, there's hype around tech, but the hype around AI is just off the scale. So they want better capacity and also more natural interactions, which is an interesting thing when we talk about if AI could ever replace humans, which we'll come to in a later. Fear. There are several elements to the fear. Uncertainty about how personal information is shared, so that's the data privacy issue that we'll come to in a moment. How does the AI operate? It's this black box. I don't know what's doing. There's nothing. There's the explainability problem. I can't explain what's happening in there. And then again, loss of natural environment. So these are things that keep coming back to, learners wanting that face-to-face interaction and not just, a chatbot or something like that. Standardizing languages. So this is a thing about the bias that we know that AI is basically, is capable of. AI is trained on human data, so wherever there's human bias, AI has followed that bias. So there were examples where certain Englishes were considered more appropriate by the AI than other Englishes. And we live in a world which has many Englishes now. So, that's obviously something that needs to be addressed. And more recently, and something that university and higher education people will definitely be aware of, there has been a lot of, the research papers are focused on academic misconduct, as in plagiarism, using AI to write essays, for example. So what are the implications for practitioners? Focus on AI literacy. So if ELT is going to be impacted more than any other discipline, we need to address AI literacy for our teachers. We don't have a good track record with digital literacy. It hasn't always been, a good record for addressing digital literacies with teachers. So now we have this additional problem of AI literacy as well. But it's even more important that our students are able to question what's happening. Carefully consider how models are chosen. I don't know. I asked this question yesterday. I don't know if in Vietnam is there any work undertaken at the moment on language models that have Vietnamese training. I don't know. Maybe people in this room know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, if you train on a certain language, it gives certain biases. So, oh, there are already, yeah?
Underway.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Yeah. So yeah, so there are many countries now, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, where there are languages that are not, for example, they're not written languages. So AI completely ignores anything that does not have data on it, and you are not represented by AI. So yeah, choosing our models. As I said before, we need to know what happens when the AI is taken away. Is it a crutch? Do people become too dependent on it? The jury's still out on this one a little bit. There needs to be more research. We need ethics statements for AI in ELT. There's already, UNESCO have produced for education more broadly, but we also need for, I think, ELT, because there are some specific things we do as English language teachers that need ethical work as well. The British Council's looking at that at the moment, and Davide will give you more details at some point. Again, the hype. Don't believe the hype. The levels are insane at the moment. And then also we need to look at the challenges. So in fact, in some ways, reporting what went wrong in the classroom is more important than what went right. And that's, the teachers who are using it are the people that can show us that. And then lastly, AI application and assessment. So this is an under-researched area. It's going to absolutely change assessment. It could, in some ways, change it for the better, because I think now already high-stakes exams providers are looking to change their exams based on the fact that they don't want AI to be able to cheat on it. So it may be that the impact is that we have assessment that is better designed for humans. So that's possible. That's one possible good thing. Okay, so what did the teachers say? So as I said, there's 118 countries and territories, so all over the world, basically. I don't even know some of those places. Is it Greenland? No, Iceland. I don't know. Anyway, it's across the globe. And when we asked teachers what they used, this is what they said. So it's descending order. So it starts with language learning apps, language generation AI, chatbots, none of these, so a considerable amount of teachers are not using any AI. Automated grading, speech recognition software, text-to-speech tools, data and learning analytics, virtual and augmented reality, very small. And then what teachers use AI tools for? Mostly creating materials, and then helping learners practice using English, create lesson plans, correct learners' English, grade or assess learners, admin tasks, or none of those. So we can see that actually, in terms of teachers' use, there's a lot of non-teaching stuff that's actually going on, and we'll look at this later. So some of the kind of tasks that the AI could do could actually just give teachers more time in the classroom, which would be an important benefit. Okay, again, the person next to you. 2 questions. Tell the person next to you whether you agree or disagree or neutral or whatever. So number 1, AI and automated translation will eventually make learning languages unnecessary. We don't need to do it because we'll be speaking into something that will be translating automatically. And 2, by 2035, AI will be able to teach English without a teacher. I can't ask all of you what you thought, but this is what this is to compare yourself with teachers from around the world. So actually, only 19% of teachers think that they are going to be unnecessary. I don't know, did you think the same? I think, yeah, there are lots of things that for example, speaking a language, someone gave an example of if your husband and wife from different nationalities and from using different languages, could you imagine using an AI automated? There are miscommunications anyway. There would be a lot of miscommunications in that sense. So there are many reasons why you would still learn a language. People talk about that it's like it's a good exercise for your brain as well. So I think if I was answering it, I'd be down this end of the thing. And then by 2035, AI will be able to teach English without a teacher. More or less the same. So teachers are very confident. that they are very, very important. Which is true, they are. Okay, I'm going to play a video now. So these was obviously the kind of the statistics. There are some comments now that the teachers made, because they were allowed to make comments as well, open-ended comments. And because this is a presentation on AI, they're not the actual teachers, but we've put them into AI. So have a look what you think of this.
AI development advances fast, in particular to support and enhance English language teaching within a classroom setting. We can see that many AI-powered apps, language tutors and chatbots are being developed to provide personalized feedback, answer questions, and assist learners in their language acquisition journey. However, it is important to note that while AI can be a valuable tool in language education, human teachers play a vital role in the learning process. Language learning involves more than just acquiring vocabulary and grammar rules. It also requires cultural understanding, social interaction, and personalized guidance, which human teachers are well equipped to provide.
Not every corner of the planet has the technology, nor the financial resources to implement AI in every school. There are places where board and chalk is all that a teacher can use.
In all honesty, I suspect a self-motivated student could use it for self-study now, and the commercial incentives for software houses to monetize AI teaching at a fraction of the current tuition fees, even for teachers from the developing world, will be too great to ignore.
Change is inevitable, and perhaps AI presents opportunities and possibilities for equity of access to learning opportunities.
The development of AI and machine learning is proving exponential, and the ability to learn without a teacher seems increasingly possible.
Throughout history, teachers have proved to be really good at facing changes. The COVID-19 pandemic is the latest example. We're here now, discussing the impact of AI and its use in education. We'll keep learning.
Okay, so teachers, those were real teachers, but not real teachers. They were the AI avatars. And I don't know about you, but I found them a bit, when I first watched it, I found it difficult to listen to or understand. And I think that's maybe there are shortcomings with AI. It's not, there are things that are not quite there yet. Okay, lastly, what the key witnesses said, and some of these themes have come up through what we've been talking about. So obviously there's bias. AI ethics came up across all of the interviewees that we spoke to, and in particular, there was the area of excluding certain groups. So some groups are not included because their data is not there. So that's a big issue. And then Professor Rodney Jones there says it works, but we can't explain how it works, can't explain why it works, and so it becomes very, very difficult to question its results. And academics call this the explainability problem. So when you have this, it's difficult to question the biases that it's showing. Big tech, many of the interviewees talked about big tech. When we talk about big tech, we're usually talking about the US. And so there was a concern that, and it has happened, that US companies would get into, for example, a certain country, and the organisation would scrape the data and use it for their own means. In fact, the kind of idea that the kind of sort of big tech is all across AI is not actually that accurate. A lot of the interviewees talked about local kind of grassroots AI, and you're talking about Vietnamese language models, for example. So there is stuff that's going on where the big tech is not as well, and this is quite promising. And then frameworks and regulation. We spoke about this. There's a need for this. UNESCO's doing it, but I think we probably need something for ELT as well. Inclusion came up significantly, so digital divides. So you know the concept of digital divide. We already have digital divides for those who either have access to digital, and those who have not, but also those who have the skills to use digital and those who do not. And AI could make this problem even worse, potentially. So if you have a situation where well-resourced education systems have AI and that their students are using it and they're benefiting from it, then this could increase kind of disparity as well. So that's something to be looking at. Language standardization, yes, some excluded, we've spoken about that. It's not all doom and gloom though. So for example, accessibility. So previously people that can't use a keyboard because they were visually impaired or something like this could be a real transformative moment for them in terms of AI. They'd be able to interact with computers, without being able to use a keyboard or something like that. The only thing about accessibility is that generally it comes not because people set out to solve that problem, it's because of other technologies that have developed and then they bring them in. So we need more investment in that as well. Assessment, we've spoken about that, there's more research needed. I did say that maybe assessment will change as it kind of reacts to the possibility of AI cheating. And the problem with AI is that to make it better, and we will want to make it better, because generally we want to make things better, but it will need more data. And so there's going to be this tension about our privacy, and when we decide to give it or not to make AI better at what it does. And then teacher readiness. I think replacing teachers. I've got a short video that I'm going to play now. And basically this video will show you how, in fact, I don't think AI is going to replace teachers. It can be used as a tool in a whole range of ways that we haven't even considered yet. This is actually Welsh students in Wales, and it's talking about the problem that is in the UK with foreign languages. So I don't know if you know this, but in the UK, the amount of students that are taking foreign languages is dropping every year. So they were trying to do things to sort of motivate students to take up a language. And this is how they used AI to do that.
If you could speak any other language, what might that be?
I think Spanish would definitely be useful. I can't really remember Italian because I feel like that's kind of cool. I'd quite like to learn a bit of Portuguese.
Learning Chinese because it's the most spoken language in the world.
I'd love to speak more Spanish. I'd like to learn as many languages as possible, really.
OK， 好的，所以我有英语、数学、物理、生物。
Dopo la scuola penso di voler essere un insegnante. That's really cool. Un inglese.
Sé que será útil tener un idioma extra al trabajar en diferentes países. Quiero hacer actividades.
Me encantaría volver a Sudamérica. Si viajamos por el mundo un año, Chile, Argentina, Ecuador.
Gostaria de seguir a ciência.
Oh my god.
Biologia, química, matemática,
especialmente en Francia. And it's just like I'm saying it. Parte de la nueva comunidad.
Creo que si pudiera hacer cosas en España, México y Sudamérica por la gran escena futbolística allá.
Tenho amigos e família franceses. Minha irmã e mãe falam francês.
That's crazy.
Sacanagem.
So AI did this. That's pretty cool.
Sounded very natural.
It was a bit weird, yeah. It'd be fun to be able to speak languages fluently like that.
It opens my eyes to what it could be like.
I think that looked pretty accurate. It looked like I was speaking it fluently like it was my first language. It makes me feel like I can do that.
Well, yeah, I think it'll be helpful, but that doesn't mean people should stop trying to learn a language. Face-to-face connection will always be more important than using AI. Even though AI copies your voice very well, it's not the same, and it's definitely an important skill for confidence.
I think it's still important to be able to learn a language. I think it's only to be able to speak to people, to be able to properly connect with them.
Okay, so I'm going to end with that actually, because I think when we talk about preparing for the future, this was a kind of really innovative way that a teacher used AI, not to, obviously, they weren't able to speak the language, but in terms of motivation, being able to see yourself speak fluently was quite a cool thing for these kids. So I think I'll end there because I've been told. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your really insightful and comprehensive presentation. Actually, I signed the report from BC in my workshop yesterday, and I really I feel grateful to be here to watch it live because I have watched it on YouTube on Untitled 2024.
Okay.
And I have the one question is that as a teacher, we are really not really well prepared, but we are aware of the importance of AIs and the threat and the risk of the AIs. But for the student, because it's the math, the calculation thing, you can use the calculator to do the math, but we need to teach the student how to calculate themselves before using the machine, the tools. As a teacher, we are aware of it, but for the student, if we just prepare for the teachers, how about the student? Do you have any advice so we can really not only prepare for the teacher, but prepare for student as well for the future of AI with the language teaching and learning?
I mean, it's a very good and very difficult question. It comes back to AI literacy, which is something that's going to keep popping up, I think. So I mean, students need to be able to critique what's happening. For example, they can't be viewing, an AI tool as something kind of like a teacher. It needs to be something if you're collaborating with AI, then it could be something like a peer, and that peer has faults. That peer is not always right. So they need to be able to talk that. But I think perhaps, the kind of sort of, teacher AI literacy, there could be activities where the teacher and the student are learning together around that. I mean, often students know more than the teacher anyway, don't they, and that kind of thing. So I think the kind of AI literacy sort of space is only just beginning. So there will be courses. I think the British Council is planning one via Teaching English. I think you must have already been on the website. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think AI literacy for teachers and then students is the only way forward.
Okay, thank you for your answers. Because I also believe that the challenge here is that the learner learn more quickly than the teacher. As a teacher, we are under student regarding the AI and technology tools, and sometimes I doubt myself that the student really need me to really teach them to use the tool and everything, or they will teach me. That's really the challenge that I always think of when I teach English with the integration of the tools, because my students know better than me.
Thank you so much for your very insightful, informative presentation. I have a question. I hear a lot about using AI to create personalized learning path for students, and I learned something that explore the literature about it. But there's a concern that if we create a learning model that is really personalized for students that use all AI tools with ready-made option, not option, but ready-made path for students. So is this model destroy the something like learner autonomy?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think they say that the personalised learning, it shouldn't be ready-made. It should be kind of it will be created on the fly as a student's engaging with that thing. But it's a really good point. If you're just sitting there passively being told what to do, it is removing that aspect of what do I need to do to improve, that kind of self-regulation thing. It's a really, really good point. I don't have the answer, but it's good to. I mean, this is the thing. So in terms of looking at the research, we need to see where the gaps are, so that researchers.
Because we are under the constraints of time,
okay.
So the Q&A session had to be stopped. And if you have further questions, you can email the keynote speaker directly. Thank you so much. And now I would like to invite Dr. Nguyễn Thị Mai Hữu, the Executive Director of the National Foreign Languages Project of Vietnam, to the stage to present the flower to our keynote speaker. So please stay. And may I remind the participant and the presenter who are present.